I'm guessing you're 235 at this point?
Oh yeah,
More like it?
I'm
Yeah.
235.
So how are you liking Nightlord? How are you liking the game? And what can I do for you?
Okay, class is really cool. I like it. It's been I think, one of my favorite classes ever.
Okay.
I just came back to Maple like 2 months ago when the Destiny patch happened.
Okay.
And I'm very lost. I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing, but then some people that I met teach me some stuff, and I kind of understand the general idea. But then I watched one of your videos where you're with a friend ranking like all the classes, and then you say like Nightlord is like a shit class if you don't have 65k main stat or something. I was like, holy shit.
Wait, did I say that?
Maybe I picked the wrong. Yeah, I think so. You were like ranking
shot.
all the classes. And then I was like, oh shit, maybe I picked the wrong class.
Oh no,
like
I
there's
don't.
no way I can get that high stats.
I don't. Well,
But like I don't know, dude.
I don't think that was me. I don't really rank the classes that much. The last thing I did when ranking was looking at the upcoming changes in the like next week's patch, or like 2 weeks from now, I guess.
Oh, maybe it wasn't you, yeah. Probably.
Yeah, on looking on.
It was two persons in the call.
Yeah, it might have been Humtoryu. I don't know. He probably makes that kind of content, I'm guessing. But I like to stay away from like all the ranking stuff because I don't think it's very useful. Because some people might come out of that thinking like, oh, my class is garbage, or my class is the best, and when in reality all the classes are actually really close together. And I feel like ranking, even if it's an ordinal scale, I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
No.
Ordinal basically means there's just a difference, right? And there's an observable difference, but it doesn't talk about how big that difference is. When you talk about numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, immediately that's not really ordinal, because 2 is double of 1, right? And 3 is 50% more than 2, right? So those are internally linked. But if you say like first in a race, second in a race, third in a race, that's ordinal. Because 1 was faster than 2, but it doesn't say how much faster, right? It could be 1,000th of a second. And if you just say like, oh, I came in second, it's like, oh, so you were the first loser, right? But you can look at the scoreboard and be like, wow, you were actually basically exactly the same speed, right? And that's kind of what's going on with the classes, I think, in MapleStory with Destiny. And in extension of that, the extra changes that are coming, so like in 2 weeks, and then we have Ignition coming in winter, and then I haven't looked over that, but hopefully I can look over that today. I was gonna do that yesterday, but no stream. On like the changes that are now up and coming in Korea, they constantly, hopefully at least for Korean metrics, are trying to get the classes closer and closer together. That doesn't mean that they're going to be as close for us, because you know we have extra sources of damage than Korea doesn't have, right? And we have 2 ranks of attack speed extra. Some of those things actually benefiting Nightlord quite a bit, and we have Domain and Kana, which is a huge burst, which for specific burst classes that can actually be a huge help. So like a class like Nightlord can actually benefit a lot from that. So yeah, I try to stay away from the ranking. What I'm trying to build right now is kind of a ranking system, but it's more like a back-end stuff with numbers for like an ordinal scale. And then basically what the idea is going to be that people can put in like their preference of what kind of playstyle they want to have, and then it'll just give you suggestions on which classes fit that playstyle the best. But not like, you know, this is number 1 class in the game, this is number 2 class in the game, and if you're not playing these, you're basically shit. You know, like I want to steer far away from that, because I feel like that's pretty toxic. And in the end, it's a video game, it's about having fun, and I'd rather have people play a character that matches their playstyle and that they can enjoy playing. And if you enjoy your character, you will get to late game, or you'll get to end game, depending on how many hours you put in, of course. But you will get in through the game because you will want to log in and you will want to participate in the game. And if you play something more like, like the bad term would be like a meta slave, right? But more like a meta pick or like a bandwagon, you're very likely to feel good about leveling the character because you know you're going to be super strong. But then if something happens, like a nerf or whatever, that can really be detrimental to your enjoyment, because now it feels like everything you did is for nothing, right? Because you didn't really build up a bond with a character or with the game, but just with the promised, you know, damage at the end, or like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? That's what you're chasing, the carrot on a stick. And then if the carrot gets taken away, now it feels like you wasted your whole time. And my philosophy is more like, I'm trying to make sure that you just enjoy the whole ride there, and then it's more about the experience, like no matter where you get, rather than trying to reach a specific point, and that gives you all the validation of whether it was worth your time, basically.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So it was probably someone else doing the ranking thing, but I mean, it does better for this case. Maybe he was my twin brother or something. Yeah. No, because
I just recently found your content, but maybe it was some other similar YouTubers.
Yeah, I'm all about the, like, you know, like a teach man to fish, you know, like give them the tools to try to make the best way through the game, and then just send them on their way kind of thing, and not to be too constrictive and like, this is a must-have, this is a must-do, this is shit, you shouldn't be doing this, you know. But more like general advice, and then you can just do whatever you want, you know, because it's your time. You decide.
True.
Okay, so, well, with all of that, I don't know if you have any specific goal in mind with the Nightlord, or is there something with the Nightlord that you... Well, what made you bring that up, I guess? Is that something that made you feel like you're not sure if you should be continuing the character? Is that...
Kind of, because I tried like bossing. I can do like all the easy bosses, like one shot. But when I try to do like the chaos or like the hard bosses, I just do like so little damage, and I feel like it's so hard to progress or something.
Yeah. So what do you use as a metric there? Do you use just like,
I just see the damage, you know,
time,
like,
or the numbers, or how fast someone else kills it, or
maybe that, because all my guildmates and friends just one shot all the bosses, and I just see myself doing like 50 million a lane, and
well, you're very burst oriented, right? So that means you need to you need to make sure that your burst is done very well, because that's where all your damage comes from. And if you do that well, then you'll be like at the same speed, maybe a little bit faster than some other people around your level. But the other thing is that if you're completely soloing, Nightlord, the only thing that Nightlord really offers early on, like in the stages where you on, like all the way up until basically up until the end game, until you do Saren, the only thing you really offer is a bit of a slow, right? In the is it a mark? No, not the mark. I had the name in my head before, but now I forgot it. The charm, the debuff one, the IED. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Frailty curse, yeah. You're familiar with how that works?
Yeah, as long as the boss is inside, it gets reduced defense or something and slow.
Yeah, so the base skill does an IED debuff, but that doesn't work on bosses, so you have to get the hyper skill to make it also work on bosses. Yeah. And then so all the way up until endgame, that's basically the only thing you bring to a party. So if you're talking about fully soloing, you need to do your burst basically perfectly to keep up with other people. But if you're in a party, you'll be able to, you know, not have to worry about the binding and the timing of that. Someone else will be taking care of that, and you'll scale respectively very highly off of party buffs and off of things like Oz rings and that kind of thing. So that's kind of built into the character, and unless you have those things specifically, you're not gonna be shining as brightly as you could be. But it doesn't mean that, you know, you need 65k to be like a proper class. Like, you could do a fuck ton of damage as a Nightlord, but it does mean that if you're completely solo, you might not stand out as much, or you might not be as insanely of a burster if you're all completely by yourself. But that's because, you know, that's calculating in when the party adds and you become like 1 + 1 = 3. That has to be still balanced, right? Yeah. So if you're completely soloing, you will not feel as, you know, ridiculously overpowered, because a lot of other classes, what they might have more is more survivability, because they might not scale as well off of party buffing. So you might struggle a little bit more with the survivability when you're completely solo and have to worry about all of that stuff. Nightlord is probably the closest to like a glass cannon type character, but you do have Darksight, which is an incredibly valuable tool, and you'll have to rely on that quite a bit. But But yeah, so an endgame showdown makes it so that I believe it's showdown makes it so that bosses don't deal touch damage to targets anymore, which is like one of the most important things in the Saren run, because everyone who gets hit by touch hits, I believe, takes like time off a counter, and if the counter ever reaches 0, the whole run just fails and everyone just gets kicked out. So there, it's a very valuable skill. Yeah, if you're looking at party, party composition later, when you're talking about, you know, everything lucid and up, you'll want a more balanced, a more balanced composition in your party, and you'll want probably like 1 or 2 supports. You probably want 2 or 3 DPM characters, and then like 1 or 2 bursts, right? That's like the general composition. Especially once you start doing hard lucid, because if everyone is like DPM and support, and everyone's like barely meeting the requirements, you might be able to survive all the way and get into phase 3, but you might not be able to burst phase 3 down. But then if you get all, you know, burst characters that can burst phase, that all of them, their burst together is enough to kill phase 3, you probably won't get to phase 3, because the run will just last too long, and people might start dying out, and then you don't have the DPS anymore. So you need like, more of a
balance.
Yeah, more of a balance. It's not as important now as like it was 2 years ago, you know, when really we had to start doing like a higher level arithmetic to make sure that all the DPS was there, because there's been a lot of power creep since then. So yeah, typically if you're like around the level and your funding is like even just remotely around your level, and you're not an absolute tool with your character, you know what you're doing, then typically these boss fights are not as complicated anymore, unless you get to Will, and then it's really just about learning the mechanics and everything. But yeah, I don't know where you're. So the people you were comparing to, you feel like they were in your wheelhouse, like they're in the same amount of, or like around the same level, around the same stat, but you feel they talk about,
not really. My friends and guildmates are really high level, but I see like YouTube videos of other people. Like, for example, I saw, what is this guy called? Coppersan. One of his newest videos. He actually made a Nightlord, and he was able to like do CRA at like 220 or something or less, and like super easy. And I do it, but I struggle so much. And he was like on a clean account. I don't know, maybe just my mechanics, or
it's always a combination. I don't think it's ever just one thing. There can be 1 or 2 things that are just specific things that you just need to know, and we'll get through that, you know, through the session. But a lot of it is practice. You can imagine that if you would have a 60k stat character, right, and you would give that character to someone who's never played MapleStory before and ask them to do CRA, they'd probably die out, right?
Yeah.
So there is a, you know, even when you're that ridiculously strong, where literally all you have to do is press spread throw and press bind, and then just hold down your quad star, right? That's the only thing you have to do. If the person doesn't know that, they'll just start dying to all the random shit. So it does come down to practice, and I have the Project series as well, right, where I try to do it with all the characters level 210 with limited funding. I do try to show that characters are capable of way more than you might think, even with very limited funding, just by practicing and doing the boss over and over again. But I also want to make sure that I'm not trying to promote everyone to do everything solo, because it is an MMORPG, right? And I do want people to do things together. But that's kind of the idea behind that, is that if I can do that solo with a character that I don't really play, I don't have that much experience with, I just know the bosses very well. Imagine if that's your main character, you're mainly investing in that character, and you might not have the Legion and the Links that I do, but you have all of your funds directly into that character, you might have event buffs, etc., etc. Then there's a lot more possibility in your character by sticking with it and practicing and trying to find the joy in sometimes also just failing, but learning more about the boss fight and learning on what to do. If you want to get into specifics with CRA stuff, we can. Maybe just some tips that can help you out. Or we can do that afterwards, once we get more down, you know, through like the mathy stuff and the metrics on everything. I don't know what you prefer.
Yeah, sure. We can do it later.
Okay. I'll just make a note that we circle back to that. All right. So, do you have a goal in mind on where you want to get with this character, or do you just want to gradually progress and just not feel like you hit any walls, basically?
Yeah, basically, because right now I'm really not having fun with not with the class, but with the game.
Okay.
I have kind of a limited time to play the game.
Okay.
In the week.
Mm-hmm.
So I just do dailies, and that's so fucking boring, like actually boring. And then the
But
only
doesn't-
time I can
yeah.
actually play the game is on the weekends.
Right. So it
But
feels like
it
during
feels like
the
it's so repetitive, you know.
yeah, during the week you're just doing chores, but you're not seeing any gains from that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does grow into a game that requires you to put quite some time in, especially on those time-gated things like the symbol dailies, right? There's no real way around that. I was really cool with all of that for a while, but now, yeah, having max 7 characters, like going for the 8th one is not feeling as fulfilling as you might think. Even though there is some value to having like a whole legion full of max symbol characters, it's a little bit like, man, this at this point I want to make sure that I'm going to get to the point where I can get the value back out of that afterwards, if that makes sense. If you really it's just your first character, and there's still so much content that you're going to get to, I would say it's worth it. But yeah, it's more of a personal experience. So I guess I'll try to think of how we can make it so that you can feel like you're getting that value. So would you say like on a weekday you have like an hour or less to play, something like that?
I'd say like I get home like at 9 p.m. and then I go sleep until like 11 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like 2 hours of.
You could do 2 hours, but then you have nothing else
dailies.
that you can do in that time.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So if you would do a totem, that would be like stretching it to the absolute max, basically.
Yeah. If I do a totem, then I cannot do the dailies.
Yeah.
Or the bossing or. Actually, I started doing commerce pathways. That's so annoying too.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I do the Legion stuff and Monster Park. And
or you could do a totem, but then you can only use like an hour or maybe a little bit more than an hour of it.
Yeah.
Which is probably still valuable, if you do want to play during that time, because then an hour of totem is better than no totem at all, right?
And no totem. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more gains. I don't know if it's better, but like it's more gains. So if you do have the time and you want to play, you might as well throw up a totem for an hour or for 50 minutes rather than not buying it and then also not getting the gains out of it. Because it's probably going to be a matter of just finding the gains where you can, as long as you feel like you want to play the game. So is there certain content that you're trying to work towards, like kind of milestones that you want to reach?
I mean, really, like right now, I'm just doing dailies for doing dailies. I don't have any like kind of goals.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to get like, be stronger and just be able to boss, let's say, Helix or the normal average hard bosses.
Yeah, because it's hard psychologically to keep motivating yourself to like log in and play and do these things if you're not really feeling like there's anything concrete.
Yeah,
that
that's
you're
one of the
towards,
points that I wanted to touch on this session. Is like I need you to point me towards like what should be my next step as with this class. Like should I grind more? Should I focus on my equipment or maybe practicing the pulse mechanics or stuff like that?
I'm always about like a healthy balance between everything, but we can check based on where you're at, what that healthy balance would be, I guess. So when it comes to content, you're saying you're soloing most stuff. So have you soloed like everything up to Lucid?
No, I solo everything up to Bellum. I cannot do Bellum. I cannot do Chaos Pap, and then from there, I cannot do anything else.
Okay, so you've done because the order here is a little bit off. You've done like Chaos Sakum and Princess No and Hard Hillock, Chaos Swing Bean, all of those. Yeah, and Hard Magnus probably haven't done that, right?
I do it. Yeah, I did it.
You did Magnus, okay, and did you do Akechi?
Yes. Oh no, Akechi is the ninja, right? No.
The samurai with the top knot. Yeah, he's very interesting. Okay, so around that area, yeah. So yeah, maybe my my stuff is like a little bit demoralizing as well, right? Because then the levels that shows like between a 220 and 230s, and you're already 235. Yeah. Yeah, I get you. Again, those are just like guidelines when people can start trying, right? If you find that it's usually, I just advise people to just try. And then if you find, either mechanically it's just impossible for you, maybe you just need more damage to overcome that deficit of mechanics. Everyone has a different level of mechanics. Or if you, are doing fine with the mechanics and you can survive the boss storm, but you just can't get anywhere near killing the boss, then you just need more damage, or you need damage in different spots. And if you, find yourself that you're okay on both, you just can't seem to get it, then, getting a 2-man, 3-man party might just be a better idea to do certain content. But in general, you're playing solo. Is that something that you're really attached to, or is that something that just ends up happening because you have limited playtime?
Yeah. Basically, nobody is online when I'm online.
Okay. And have you thought about maybe a guild that matches more your online profile?
I really like this guild that I'm on, but honestly, I thought about that, and I think MapleStory shifted from being like a team-oriented game to more like a solo. Like everyone now wants to do bossing solo for the money, or because I started playing this game since the beginnings. Yeah. And I remember when we do Seikon with 20 people, that was fun, dude. That was actually fun. You lag so much, or Horn Tailors, that kind of stuff.
Oh god, yeah, the expedition.
And now
runs.
everyone just soloing everything, Yeah. And it's kind of boring in a way. But I guess the team-oriented content is in the higher levels, so.
It's at this point it's basically everything loosened up, but you can search for people to do things, and I hope that the August 31st update is going to change that quite a bit with basically opening up listings for boss parties in the boss menu. So you'll be able to make I want to do parties looking for this kind of stat or looking for this kind of class, and then you can just check who's looking for parties and then just join groups. And I think that'll be way better on getting people to play the game together again, rather than having it to be off-platform in some Discord to try to find people, or having to use megas, to see if anyone wants to do a boss. So I'm hoping that will, that'll lead to a little bit more camaraderie. I try to do my best to have, have a platform within my Discord where people can find each other for boss rooms, and people can always ask in the chat. And we try to do Ursus every day, with the group, so that we at least have some content that we're doing together. But yeah, I mean, they've said as much in Korea that they're kind of happy with that they like that the profile is that it's a single-player game, which I think is just a poor move, because, I mean, you start making a completely different product, and you start appealing to different people, and I typically like the people a bit better who were in there for the camaraderie and for the team play, rather than the people who are just there to, make a number go brrr and to get mezzo. That usually leads to some other, more selfish stuff, or borderline rule-breaking stuff and abusing just to try to get ahead of other people, which I don't think is inherently something that I value. So I get that part. So okay, so I've seen the things you've soloed. Okay, but you're not opposed to doing stuff in party. You just find it a little bit hard to find people who play around the same time. Usually weekly bosses and stuff like that will be in weekends on Saturdays and Sundays, when there's also more overlap for time zones, because we are a global game, right?
Yeah, that's another problem.
Because are you in South America, or? Yeah,
I'm in Mexico.
Well, technically that's North America, I think, right?
Yeah, North America.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, there's mostly people in in the East and in the West in the US, so time zone wise it shouldn't be too bad, right, to overlap. But yeah, you'll mostly be looking at Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, I guess that's some advice. We have the room in our in my Discord where you can sign up for the boss roles, and then within that you can just freely spam in there whenever you're trying to set up a party, or set up a static party, or an incidental party for certain bosses. You can always do that there. And the thing you mentioned, with Helix as well, I can imagine in the beginning, you want to get towards soloing Helix as soon as possible, so you can have all of the control over the drops. But I mean, you can also do party Helix, where you will guarantee yourself more coins per day, because they are instanced, so everyone gets their own coins. and then you'll just have a small chance of getting the drops until you get sufficiently strong to be able to solo it, which is, you know, obviously the step you want to get to, and should not be too far.
I do Helix like 3 times a week with my guildmates, but they carry me. You know? I feel like I'm not doing anything. It's like leeching there.
Yeah, exactly. For Helix, I'm not an expert at Nightlord, so if anyone in chat has a specific Nightlord advice for Helix, that would be very helpful. From what I imagine, you put a summon somewhere on the bottom right, you know, near the death of the chin, and then go to the top left and attack from there. Stay behind the portal so you don't get hit by the bomb reversal, and then hopefully the assassin's marks float down to hit the bottom left ones as well. There's always the option, if you're struggling, that you want to make sure, of course, that you stick to 0 stacks, right? 0 of the purple stacks from the potatoes hitting the middle. As long as you have that, you can always exit the boss fight on the left through the portal and just wait outside until your burst comes back. Sometimes that makes the boss fights a little bit longer, of course, but more controlled.
So you think with my stats I should be able to kill him? If, let's say, mechanics are not a problem.
Yeah, maybe the marks won't kill the small summons anymore. Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, so you have to put it in on the portal. Yeah, so you have to put it on the bottom. I see. Touch initial attack. Helix pretty brain dead on any class. Not really. It really depends on your range of your main attacks. Helix can be really, really tough. It's probably one of the classes that's the most annoying, where it can be very easy for certain classes, and then other classes struggle a lot. Yeah, I guess we'll think about that a little bit. Probably your IED, I think, probably needs a little bit of work. And there might be some like redistribution of stats which can create more damage, possibly. And I guess your inner-ability isn't really doing anything for you right now, so we'll have to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I was saving the things for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Since tomorrow is like 50% off. So.
Oh, is that tomorrow?
I think so.
Oh shit!
I mean, I checked your events thing and.
Oh, okay. Oh, I had that in my brain for next week. What is next week then?
Wait, maybe it's next week. I don't know. Now I don't know, dude.
No, I'll just double check. 21st of August. Special. Oh, it's special hair time where you get a hair box. Wow, and extra melody coins. Yeah, and then next week is the 28th is the 50% off. Inner abilities. Yeah. Wait an extra week. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's start looking through the pictures and see where we can move some stuff around. And then hopefully we can help you along the way with all the possible walls you can be hitting and make sure that you don't hit those.
Mm-hmm.
So at first I'm just gonna look at the things that I see. So I look at your stat window. It doesn't seem like there's anything out of order. When you are at the point though where everything is around 10 or you're trying to get past 10, then you also want to look at the initial value of some of the things you don't have any points in, like say critical rate, for example. When you get to this point and you're putting 11 points into critical damage, that 11th point is, I think that's 65 points. If you put 65 into something where you have 0, like critical rate, you probably get all the way, I don't know, like 7 or 8, which means that is like 9 or 11% critical rate. And at that point, you want to start considering that because that's a sizable chunk. That could mean, moving a link skill around. That could mean moving legion blocks around. And that inherently could be worth more than 1 critical damage, right? So you want to start thinking about the comparative advantage between where you assign the points within the systems that you can assign points to. So that's just like a general, more overarching thing. And you'll see that in hyperset points. And you kind of see that in the Legion block as well, because it's like, okay, Legion block is like, oh yeah, fill critical damage, fill IED. But what if you have like, What if you have like 3 lines of IED on your WSE and that's just how it happens to be? Well, then probably you don't need the IED block in Legion. You probably need the boss damage one more, right? That way you can kind of like shift the stats around to just work optimally for you in your situation. So I'll basically look at what you can work on to get like the biggest gains in the shortest term, and how you can move around what you already have to get more utility out of it and make sure that the damage goes up. It's really, yeah, looking at this, and I'm basically comparing it to the progression grid, right? Like, how familiar are you with my commands and stuff?
A bit.
A bit? Okay.
Not that much.
So this is like, the main 2 that I have is like this one that I showed before, right? With the content, with the bosses, and like what levels you can do this stuff and just start trying. And this is basically, I'm using the level here as the main number. It used to be range, right? It was all about range, and especially with the Nightlords, with the Hermits and with the Assassins. Like attack, claw, range. Range has long just lost its value as any kind of predictor of what kind of damage you're going to put out, even within classes, but specifically like between classes, it's completely irrelevant there. So I was basically on the look for what number can we use to kind of have a predictor, and it really just came down to level, especially because in Reboot there's a huge penalty for attacking things that are way beyond your level. You'll lose a lot of damage there. So I found that that was a really good way of at least including that metric. And then at the same time, basically looking at what kind of stats do you want to be around which levels, and then taking all the relevant stats. So main stat is of course there, but like you said, you know, you can find someone who's maybe the same stat as you, who does like maybe 4 times your damage, right? If they're very, very funded in all the other ways, or you can find someone who's the same stat as you, who does way less damage because maybe they have none of the other stats. And it's all about trying to find a balance between what you get. And this grid basically takes into account the accessibility of all the stats and the opportunity cost that I mentioned before between where you invest and how that's gonna, you know, affect your efficiency on the stats, because everything works together in a balance, right? There's nothing like, oh, if you get like, well, of course, if you get 1,000,000% damage, that's always going to be a lot, but there's probably, you know, if you take 800,000 away from that and you divide it over the other stats, you'll end up doing way more damage. Because I'm sure you're familiar, at least a little bit, with how IED works. Like, if you have just very low IED, you don't do any damage, right?
Yeah.
But if you get only IED, then you also do no damage, because then you have no damage to put through to the boss. Yeah. So it's all about finding that balance. So this grid tries to keep that balance. So you'll see that you're like approaching towards the end of the mid game here, right? And we basically want to see that in the next like 5 to 6 levels, you move towards these numbers, or at least upkeep them if you're already there. And we can kind of see based on that, like where you probably need to push the most and where like the most gains are necessary. So when I look at your grid, the one thing that kind of stands out to me, like this is one that we really have to be careful for. That's the IED, because it is on the lower end. So I'm thinking of, you know, the Frailty Curse, extra 30% that gets added. So you're missing 18.5. So you're adding 30% of that, which is around 3%. So your functional with other stuff is probably like around 85. I don't know if this is completely buffed, or I don't know if you have like ID familiars or something that might not be on here. And with link skills, do you know that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I was without the familiars.
And which familiars do you have?
I have 50% ignore ID.
Okay. Ignore defense.
Those 2.
Yeah. And you have a broken knowledge here. That's for mobbing. Or is this all the links? Oh yeah, so you don't have the Lumi link yet, for example, right? Okay. Wait, are you on right now? Can you check if it was with your familiars or without?
Yeah, I can check. Yeah, it's without.
Okay. So with, it's more like
clean. So I can try. Let's see.
So you get visually, you'll get pretty close to 85.5 or something?
86.6 with familiars.
Okay. So then you have 30. Alright, and so you get around 4% from the Frailty Curse then. You have to make sure that keeps active, right? and then about 9%. Or is the mage one maxed? Is it level 6? Oh no, it's level 2. Okay. So there's 2 other mages that can stack in the same link skill, right? For empirical knowledge link skill. And then that gets to 9%. So if you would have that, then you would get to around 91% functional. So that is not bad, but there is still some room for growth there. So for most people, what that is either temporarily they have a line of IED or 2 sometimes,
I don't have
or even 3.
My equipments are not fully scrolled, so...
Yeah. So what people most likely have is like 1 or 2 lines of IED, and then once you get to the complete Helix set, which is like what you're working towards, right? Then that line of IED goes away again. So it might not even be a bad idea to temporarily have more IED, but of course you have limited options because your emblem is already where it's at, and your main weapon cannot be re-rolled at this time. So that does mean that the IED kind of has to come from other sources. So it'll mostly be more pressure on your link skill and your legion for now to give you that extra IED. And then that means that once you build enough IED like that, and then you get Helix, the full superior set, that means that you can then re-roll your secondary and don't need IED from there anymore. So that's kind of what the future of the IED for your account is, because it's really all about IED and crit rate early on, right? If those numbers are high, then you're fine.
So right now I should try to get a Lumi to 140 or 210.
Yeah, for Legion and Links, and like I said, it's always like a balance within your account, right? Because it also looks here at like what your Legion level wants to be. So you want to work towards 4K, I think is a good idea. I don't know yet. I didn't scroll, but if I had to guess, I would guess your Legion is like 2.5 or something. Yeah, so
it's like 2K.
Yeah, and that's pretty normal, but you don't want to neglect it. And what doesn't work for me, but it works for some people. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm just going to work on Legion for 3 weeks and just make like 40 characters. And then some people are like, I'm going to completely ignore Legion the week after that and then just pretend that it doesn't exist. For me, it's always like a balance of the two. So if I have time in the day, but I don't really have time to, pull a totem, just make a new character, get it to level 70, and then just chill. And then the next day, maybe I don't want to make a new character, maybe I'll train a little bit. And then just slowly but steadily, you can grow up your Legion very quickly. If you make one new character, say like every 3 days, that does mean that you have like every month you have 10 new characters. Or if you do every day, then you have 30 characters in a month, right? And then you're basically done. There is a change coming in August 31st that will make your highest 42 leveled characters that are at least level 60, all their levels will count for Legion. So getting the 4K to 5K to 6K and even eventually up to 8K will be significantly easier. And it's just the combination of the grid bonus, the member bonus, the link skills, and the access to Legion coins, all of those things combined, it just puts so much value on Legion that it is something that is... It's not necessary, but if you don't do it, you're going to have to overcompensate with all those things by a lot, right? And that's kind of why these numbers are set up in this way, is that if you know that something is something that you really don't want to participate in, like you really don't want to do Legion, for example, this is going to assume that you have around a 4K Legion and all the buffs that come from that. So if you don't want to do that, that's okay. But it means that on all the other metrics, you're going to have to go higher to compensate for that, right? And higher means less efficient and means more relative time spent to get those gains, is what that means. So as long as you're okay with that, that's totally fine. But that's why my advice goes along these guidelines. So I would say make at least like every 2 days or something, make a new character, because then at least like in a month you'll have 14, 15 new characters. Or 15, 16, depending on days of the month. And even if they're just level 70, that'll already be more like 1.1k extra Legion. And the main thing now is that you want to move away from the middle of the Legion, which is nice, the attack and the luck, but you want to move away from the middle and you want to move to the sides of the Legion. And that means that you have to expand the Legion in like 2k, 3k, 4k, 5k, 6k, right? To get the full grid available.
Okay.
Because you want to get to the critical damage, you want to get to the IED. And again, like in your case, the IED there might also be enough to help get to the combination of the link skill plus the ignore defense and the Legion board will probably be enough to get the IED in the short term fixed. And then once you get you'll do more damage to Helix as well. And then once you can start downing Helix, once you get the superior gear and you get the set bonus, then you can redo your secondary and get a bunch of attack percent from that.
Alright.
And then if for some reason, you know, you reroll your emblem and it rolls like 12 attack, 40 IED or something, which is of course very valuable, then you might say like, okay, now I'm going to move my IED from my Legion again into boss damage. Or I'm going to move my IED familiars. If you have boss damage familiars at that time, maybe I'm going to move that instead, right? Because the potential of your weapon, secondary, and emblem, that's really expensive to reroll and very, very high investment. But the other ones, you've already made the investment. It's just about where you assign it. So that's more flexible. So you always want to take the flexible stuff and move it around the more rigid stuff, like your WSE potential, for example. And then, yeah, once you get more critical damage from the Legion board and from the member bonus, then you'll be able to see more, also the efficiency of your hyperstat points right now. Because 1% critical damage will give you more damage than 1 point in any of the other ones, probably. But what if you could get, you know, let's say like 10% critical rate from that? Maybe that's enough to get like, I don't know, the Beast Tamer link off when you're mobbing. I'm just giving an example, right? And then maybe you can put like another skill on like the Kinesis link that gives you 4% critical damage. Well, now just by shuffling some points around, you got 4 times the efficiency, right? So that's another reason why Legion and links and everything is so important, because it gives you so much flexibility and gives you more options to move things around. And now you just don't really have that many options.
Yeah. So you're just basically playing with the numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah. And as you start filling up like to 100% or to a certain amount of IED, the concept and the value of like the comparative advantage and that'll get more clear to you as you get more options, because now it's not really like, oh, you know, like if I put 12 in crit rate, you know, somebody with maybe very low crit rate put like 12 hyperstats in it, and it's like, well, now I have 100% crit rate, so that's worth it. And it's probably worth it for the person at that point. But let's say now your Legion gets to 3k, for example. 3k is where you get 5 extra characters that you can put on the board, and the grid space gets 1 bigger. Well, now you can be like, I don't really need IED. I can already fill out my crit damage. Maybe I'll just fill out critical rate. And now suddenly that opens up like 120 or 140 hyperstat points. It's like, wow, now I have so much to play around with here, right? And then you can really start seeing the value of what else can I do with these points. In the beginning, you're just, you know, you're taking whatever you can. You know, like your link skill setup is quote-unquote bad, but that's the best you can do, because those are the only ones you have access to, right? So it's not bad now, but if you had like 20 more characters for your Legion and this was your Legion setup, then it would be bad, right? Because it's bad compared to your potential of how much you could do. And just as you unlock more and more and more, you'll start feeling more where you can actually push a little bit harder and where you can't. So for the links and the Legion, so I don't know if you know this one, I specifically have the links, or through Legion you can find this command, where I have all of the classes in the game with all of their Legion and Link buffs. And you can basically...
I saw this one,
yeah. So my general advice is just to start at, you know, at Mercedes and just work your way down. You can be... There's certain levels of efficiency that you can do. You can do like, I'm going to do it just to level 70, you know, just to get the, what is it, the B rank for Legion, and the level 1 Link skill, and then just move to the next one. Or it can be like, I'm going to get up to level 100, and then, you know, do some daily stuff there, and then maybe work my way up to level 120 slowly on some characters, and do like... Some people might want to do like 2 or 3 characters, and then just get those finished up to 140 maybe, and then move to a new batch. What I like to do is I like to have a few characters in every phase, so I can choose what I want to do. So if I just have like 4 characters that are created, but they're like level 30, and they just need to go from level 30 to 60, and then I could do that. If I feel like doing a low-level character, if I have a few characters like between 70 and 100 that need some grinding, but it's pretty easy, then you can do that instead. If you have a few characters at level 100, you could just log in, kill some Zakum arms, get some free EXP really quickly, and log off again, and then slowly work up to 120. Maybe do Monster Park past 105 if you want to. And then a few other characters maybe, you know, that are 140, that whenever an event comes around, or I feel like grinding but not on my main because it's too slow, for example, trying to get one from 140 to 200. Those are all like different types of ways that you can make these same kind of gains. But in the beginning, if you're looking for more efficiency, and if Legion building and playing a lot of different characters is not really your thing, it's all about just making a lot of characters. Because you can imagine getting a new character from 0 to 60, that's the same Legion gains as getting your Nightlord from 234 to 294, right? but in time, it's wildly different in how much time it's going to take you, right? So you have 28 more characters that you can create, whose levels will directly count. If you get all of those to level 100, that's 2.8k Legion. That gives you to 5k, and there's probably some of them now that aren't level 100 yet. Only one, but that will be like 28 extra level 100. By the time you get that, we have the next update and everything gone. Then you're at 5k Legion. That's already huge. And then 5.5 is huge because that's another bump where you can put 5 extra characters in the board, and then 6k is where you get access to the whole board. And that's usually just getting all the 100s all up to 140, just slowly over time, doing a bunch of Zakum, doing a bunch of Monster Park, and then slowly getting the EXP there. If that's not your thing, you'll probably find that some characters you enjoy and you actually want to do those levels, and then some characters you don't like. And then if the characters you don't like, don't push too hard. Just get the easy levels and get out. And because you don't want to overfund them all either, right? Because if you invest like 50 mil into every character and you make 28 characters, that's 1.4 bill that's gone, right? So economy of scale there is kind of important. But a lot of characters can self-fund, and the further you go and the more Legion you have, the more link skill you have, and the more you build up your Legion towards mules and to building your Legion, the less funding they will need, and the more money they will actually make for your account rather than they cost. And the main thing is going to be once you get to 3k, you get to put the extra characters in. You really want to evacuate like the middle of the Legion board and go towards critical rate and critical damage, and that will really give new characters insane amounts of damage.
Okay. So, what's the level where they start counting for Legion? 60?
60, yeah. That's the lowest rank that they can get. So once they have that rank, they will count for the Legion levels, yeah.
So
one exception is 0. 0 is only at 130 because it starts at 100. So.
Okay. So should I start making level 60 characters? And then
I don't think you should, but I think you will benefit a lot from that. Yeah. Okay. Whether you want to or not, it's still like completely up to you. But just remember this this balance here in the progression grid, right? If you don't, you're going to have to overcompensate with all these other things, and that's always going to be less efficient and cost more time. And since time seems to be a pretty valuable resource for you, you would benefit greatly from at least every now and then, or like just slow and steady working on your Legion. You would benefit a lot, yeah.
Okay. No,
yes, you can still make zeros, yeah. If you don't, do you have a 0 and a Beast Tamer?
I created one, and 0 and one Beast Tamer, but
Beast Tamer, yeah.
So the thing is, I really don't like complicated classes, like high mechanical classes.
Yep.
Beast Tamer is super easy. I love that class.
Yeah.
But the 0, I just really didn't understand how to play it.
Yeah.
So for example, the Mercedes, I just hate that champion. Worst champion ever created.
Yeah, in general, people don't gravitate that much towards combo classes. I was reading up a little bit and trying to do a little bit of the combo stuff with when doing Project CRA, and it really opened up an extra dimension of that character that I just had no idea about before. And there is definitely some cool stuff there, but I could totally understand as well why you wouldn't want to engage with that at all, and just getting to 210, get the link skill, and get the fuck out. That's definitely, for some people, the... Yeah, but so as long as you have some characters that are like in the stage of, doing Zakum, some of them are just like getting created, some of them are just waiting for growth potions, some of them are waiting for like Gemini match and that kind of stuff. Are you doing that daily?
Which one?
Like the mini game with the match cards?
Oh yeah, on my main.
Oh, your main, yeah. Because on your main, it's probably not as impactful for EXP at this point. Those events are typically very good if you have like level 200 characters, like let's say the Demon Avenger, that eventually wants to get to 210 for a better link skill. You can get those early levels very, very quickly. And then, maybe there's some growth potions as well for like low levels that you don't really need on your Nightlord anymore. Then you can get those 10 levels very cheap and then get a link skill out of it that otherwise, I don't know if you really like the Demon Avenger to train, but judging by the gear, maybe not as much. Yeah. Because if you love it, if you love it, then, you set those potions aside for something else. But there's always going to be like one character that's like at 200 that you want to get to 210 that you don't really want to train. And there's always going to be like one character at like around 150 that you want to get to 200, but that you don't really want to train. And then those are like, and then based on, right, the link skill grid here on where the value is, those are going to be your priorities to put event rewards towards, right? Like
that makes sense.
Like for 200, these three are really, really good. Shade, Hayato, and Jet. You get to 200, it's 5% critical damage on each. Just those 3 at level 200 is 15% critical damage. Plus your Legion grid full at 6k in critical damage is 20%. That's 35% critical damage. Compared to what you have now, right? That's like 60% of your current critical damage added, right? So you can imagine if you do that in all of the steps that you can do, there's so much damage because it's all multiplying together. Your character will just start doing so much more damage. Plus, every new character you do will start doing so much more damage that you can level it faster and it can help your account faster. And then it's just going to start snowballing, basically. Just an avalanche of damage coming down.
Okay, makes sense. I'll work on my Legion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully I sold you and other people listening on that. Because the main extra thing with that is the one that we didn't really talk about that much yet is the coins, right? The Legion coins. Because in the beginning you want to be very careful not to spend them too quickly.
What are those for?
So the Legion shop is where you buy all of the cool stuff. All the important stuff in the game is basically in the Legion's shop. So you can buy EXP coupons, you can buy damage coupons, you can buy drop rate coupons, you can buy Meso obtain coupons. And especially once you start working hard on your drop and Meso gear, which is probably when we come to potentials and everything, probably the stuff that you want to focus on now, you'll start making way more money whenever you're training. And as a result, you'll start, because you need time, right, to get backups and stuff from weeklies. That'll be kind of a slow process. So you want to wait until you have backups, and you want to wait until you have a nice event coming around with, like 30% off or 5, 10, 15, something like that, where you can get more value out of your money. But then you want to have money to spend at that point. And if you save everything just for those events, you'll make gains, but you'll hit the wall harder. So to avoid hitting that wall and to give you more continuity of income, you'll want to move into drop and Meso gear so that whenever an event comes around, you'll always have some project that you can actively work on. And the combination of having a good income of Legion coins and using them specifically for the Legion wealth early on, that's probably, specifically once your drop and Meso gear is done, and using the Legion wealth and combined with that, you'll start making a lot of money when you're training, when you're toteming. And that'll probably also help you with the motivation of actually doing totems, or training whenever you can. Because right now, I imagine if you, use a totem or use half of a totem, you probably only make like 100 or 150 mil, right? It's not like any crazy money. But that in combination with, in the beginning, the rates will go up. That'll help you be able to upgrade gear faster. That'll help you get stronger faster. You'll get to new areas faster. You can kill bosses faster. That can get you even stronger gear faster, right? And that will cyclically help you and then snowball as well into getting a lot stronger. And for Nightlord, that gets really good, because then your Assassin's Mark can start killing. And once those start killing, then you can get those really good rates, and you'll see people posting like 1 bill an hour type rates. And then that is just, well, that's nice because number go better, but that's also nice because that means you can make significant upgrades in a timely manner. And it's not like I have to wait 8 months, to gain a star on my pieces now, because every single upgrade is going to get progressively more expensive, and you don't want to get that to the point where you basically stop playing because it's like, well, I have to play like a year for 2 stars. There's no real point anymore. Like, I'm not going to achieve anything there, right? You want those upgrades to be more manageable, like in time,
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
So yeah, all of those things will work together, and you can always just circle back to this to kind of see like where would my time be best invested, like where are you the furthest away from this goal? That means that if you push there, your time will be spent pretty close to or at the point where it's the most efficient. And then if you don't want to do efficiency, that's also cool, but if you want to, then you at least know where to look. Okay. Are there any other topics where you feel like maybe you've heard contradictory things from people and you want to make sure that you have it clear?
Yeah, I kind of want to check my B matrix because I still don't fully understand the whole thing at all, and I think I messed up with some points, so we can check that one.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay. Because link skills follows. Okay.
So I checked the command that you have about the notes.
Yeah, okay.
And I have 2 of the ones that you recommend, but I have other 2 that I'm leveling up that you don't recommend, so I think I messed up. I really don't know how this works, to be honest.
Okay, so how many? So you have 4 total boost nodes, right?
Yeah, I have 4.
And what are the
But I
starting
don't even
nodes?
use those 2.
It's Dark Star. Hang on, let me check. Because I am not 100% familiar yet with the new... I just like got used to seeing all the old pictures. But now with Destiny, all the pictures of the skills changed, so...
Yeah, it changed.
So you have a... Do you have a Quattro?
Have a...
Dark Flare? Death Star? Like, what's the name of the skills that you see, like, on the bottom left? That's a Death Star, I think.
Like, my main one is Quad Star, Assassin's Mark, and Showdown. And my second one is Assassin Mark, Showdown, and Dark Flare.
Oh, that's Assassin's Mark, right? Okay, yeah.
Those 2, like the 24 and the 17.
Flare.
Yeah, I can post it on the Discord, so it's easier.
No, I know which one he needs godly shots. I'm asking which one he has because I don't recognize the pictures as well. But are you at the setup where you have 2 of everything?
I think so. Yeah.
Well,
those two that I posted are my main ones. And then I'm
oh, I can see here. This is Quad Star boost. Okay, Showdown boost. I almost don't recognize that. Oh, this one is Showdown. And oh, and that one. Yeah. Okay. Well, you have some. Yeah, so if they're around the same level, you would expect them 24. So that's 34. And 27. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, here you go. Okay. Quad Mark Showdown. And then Mark, Showdown, Flare. Yeah, so the ideal setup is that you keep the bossing and the mobbing separate, right? That way you have 2 flexible slots. Only 2 slots where all the nodes are maxed in. Whether you're either mobbing or bossing. All those unread pings, shut the fuck up. There are like 6 of them, okay? That's very low for me. That'll make sure that only 2 slots ever are filled with boost nodes, and then all the other ones can be filled with skill nodes, which for Nightlord is like proportionally very important because they will improve your burst. For mobbing, it's not as important because you'll just get access to more decent skills basically. But for bossing, it'll be important because you need that burst to go off. So you need things like Shadow Walker and Last Resort to be able to come in as soon as possible. And you'll need, your bind, so there's a lot of stuff that you need to rely on to do a lot of damage. And that does put some emphasis on it. You're very close to that setup, though, because the only difference would be to have the, where the flare is, right, in the Assassin's Mark line. Ideally, you want to switch that one with the Quad Star that's in your Death Star. So you'll want to get Quad Star instead of the Dark Flare, and then the Dark Flare instead of the Quad Star. That's the only switch that you're really looking for, and then you have perfect setup.
And what happened? So I already have them really leveled.
That's no problem because they are starting with the right skills, right? So you have 2 that start with 2 of your bossing skills and 2 that start with 2 of your mobbing skills. So that is great in that sense that you won't lose any efficiency. You only lose efficiency if you have to disassemble them or disenchant them. Then you get like shitty shards back and it's ugh. But since you already have them, you can use them to just level up a new like level 1 node and all the EXP will get transferred over. So basically,
So if I get the perfect node that you're telling me, I should disassemble these ones and level the other one.
no. So what you can do is just unlock the current ones, and then just right-click the new one that you get. That's the perfect, and level it up with this one, and all the EXP will go over. You'll just immediately go to level 11 or 12 or however far it is at that point. So that means that you can just continue leveling the current ones that you have, because you have the setup, right? But if you do open a trinode for those two specifically, so for Assassin's Mark starter and for Death Star starter, if you do open a trinode, just like lock that one, make sure you don't level it up, and then if you have both, then just switch them over in one go, and then you're done.
Okay. So I should look for Assassin's Mark, Quad Star, and Dark Flare, right?
Assassin's Mark. No. Assassin's Mark, Showdown, and Quad Star. Like the same like the first one that you have, but just in different configuration. But you already have a high Assassin's Mark, so we want to look for one that starts with Assassin's Mark, yeah.
Okay. Can you give me 1 minute? Someone is at the door.
Okay, sure. Yeah, because when you're
Back, sorry.
Oh yeah, welcome back. So is this your general setup for anything you're doing, or is it specifically for mobbing or bossing?
This is for farming. And then when I boss, I replace the EXP one for the red heart.
Okay.
But that's about it.
Okay. So I would, both for mobbing and bossing at this point, I wouldn't use Decent Advanced Blessing. It's not good enough to take up a slot.
Yeah, that's the one I removed.
Yeah, okay. Wait, so which one do you use instead of that?
The red heart on the bottom. I don't know what the name is.
Oh yeah, Last Resort, yeah. So, but both for mobbing and bossing, I wouldn't use it for either one. It's just not, it's not good enough. If you... Typically, most people will only start using Decent Advanced Blessing when you get to the bottom row of the first screen of the matrix. So like 4 more skills, maybe then it'll start coming in.
So what's better than that?
So one of the ones that's better is Decent Speed Infusion. Both for mobbing and bossing, you want that one.
Well, I disassembled that one.
I think you have one locked here, right? The wind booster, like the blue circle with the wind around it.
Oh, that's Speed Infusion?
Yeah, that's Speed Infusion. Yeah, the icon also changed with Destiny. But that one doesn't have to be in a leveled up slot. So when it comes to being in a leveled up slot, your priority is first your boost nodes, and then it depends on what you're doing. So if you're mobbing, then it'll be Decent Holy Symbol, and then just anything basically. But remember also, if you're mobbing, you don't need Spread Throw, and you don't need your bind, right? So you can put your boost nodes in now, all of the boost nodes, if you're mobbing. That's what I would advise. So I would put in Decent Speed Infusion for both situations, and I would put in all of the boost nodes. And then other than that, maybe a Rope Lift if it helps with your map rotation, for example.
Okay.
But other than that, for mobbing, you'll be good. And then for bossing, yeah, Holy Symbol is optional. You know, like you can switch technically if you want to near the end of the boss fight. Also, once we get the August 31st update, we should get more bosses with treasure rooms after you kill the boss, so you can just switch in peace and not have to do it during the boss fight because it's very annoying. But for bossing, you would look more for the very big burst skill. So ideally, you know, once you switch the boost nodes around, probably at this point, but yeah, it's unfortunate that your Quad Star is in one of the other boost nodes, so probably use the 3 boost nodes for now, and then the Decent Speed Infusion instead of the Blessing, and then probably take out Holy Symbol, and that gives you... And probably put the bind in the leveled up slot, so it synchronizes with your 3-minute burst, right? You want to make sure that the bind gets close to that, so that every time you have Spread Throw up, that you can bind and make it go immediately, right? So that you don't have big wait times there. But it'd probably be Last Resort, yeah. And then the next ones you want to get in there is Shadow Walker, because that's also final damage burst skill. And then the Goddess Blessing, also a lot of extra stat. So and it was also on a 3-minute cooldown, so that synchronizes with your spread throw. So those are definitely the ones that you want to get in. And then depending on the bosses you're doing, you might want to get Blink in there. Helps with Lucid a lot, for example. Once you get to the golems, you know, that block the way, and the dragon that can kill you. Getting out of the way from Blink is pretty useful in some boss fights. Might even be useful in Lotus, just to float around a little bit, you know, so you don't get pushed off of platforms and stuff like that. Although you do have Dark Sight, so if you can manage with Dark Sight, that's better. But it might start being useful. But yeah, you want to get those bursts. You want to make sure that your bind synchronizes with your spread throw, and you want to make sure that your burst skills start coming in there as soon as possible, because it's all pressure on your burst, right? Your burst has to do optimal damage.
Okay.
Yeah, but other than that, it looks good. Yeah. If you're using auto buff, yeah. If you're using auto buff, it's not super important.
Sorry.
Yeah. If you're using auto buff, it's not super important to level up your decent skills, except for Holy Symbol. I would always level up, but the other ones are not as important. And if you're kind of struggling for nodes early on, you could elect to just disassemble them so you can level up your skill nodes more. And those will help more in general across the board.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was trying to level up the quad star, but I'm getting this message. I don't know if you know what that means.
You will lose EXP because you exceed the max enhancing rank. Oh, what that means is that you don't have to select all the nodes that you have to reach level 25. You're gonna go past level 25 if you do, if you fuse all the ones. It's possible though that even with one you go over, but that's just because maybe you used like an existing node to level up another one or something. So you don't end up exactly with like 100%. Maybe you end up with like 102% or something. So then you get that message.
Oh, so I lose EXP if I do that?
Well, if you're selecting just one node, then that's just what you'll have to do, right? Otherwise, you'll never get to 25, because there's a minimum amount of experience that every node gets. But once you get to 25, you won't be able to, you know, level up anymore. It just, the message pops up so that you can't, like, throw, like, 60 nodes into a level 24, you know, and then you lose all the extra stuff. That's basically there to just as a warning for that.
Oh, so that's how it works. So if you're, like, at 99 and you do, like, 16, let's say, you lose everything, and you just go to, like...
Well, let's say that you have, let's say that your extra node that you're working on, right, like the level 11, let's say that that one gets all the way to 25, and then you find your tri-node, and you level up to 25 in an existing node. It'll go slightly over 100% at 25 on the other one. So it'll give you that message as well. But it's okay, because you want the other one at 25, so... But it's like a warning that if something is already at 24, like this one, that you don't select like 12 more boost nodes to level that one up, because one will be enough to get to 100%, and then you can use the other 11 to just extract and get shards from.
Makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for the people wondering, you got the message, says you will lose EXP because you are exceeding the max enhancing rank. But it just means that it just goes slightly past 100%. Yeah.
Wait, so max level is 25?
Yeah. And that's why we want your skills on 2 different boost nodes, because any skill can be boosted up to 60 levels, but any node can only go up to level 25. So you have to have the skill in 2 separate boost nodes, otherwise you can never reach that 60. And skill nodes can only go up to 25 as well, and special nodes just, you know, can't be leveled at all. They just stay at level 1.
Okay, that makes sense now. Alright. Well, I think BMax, I'm done with this.
Yeah, feel good on V-Matrix?
Yeah, I think I got the basics now.
Yeah, so in general, I guess from the ones you have, decent Mystic Door, it doesn't seem like something that's ever really useful anymore now, especially with how good the guide is, right? So that's probably something you can disassemble. Like that one, and decent Hyper Body. You can level up the Venom, but yeah, that's one that it was really weird to me that in Destiny they didn't do anything with the Venom Burst skill, because nobody uses it except for Cadenus to get a little bit more critical damage on a debuff. Other than that, no class uses it because it just sucks. And it was really weird to me that in Destiny they didn't like make the class or make the skill viable, at least in some scenario. It's wild to me.
So
but
disassemble that one too.
Honestly, at this point, if you disassemble, it's probably fine. Blink was kind of in the same way where it was pretty useless, but then they changed it, so then everyone, then started leveling it and making it. But, if you get to the point where finally it becomes useful and all your other nodes are done, then you'll have nodes to make them if you need it, It's probably not going to be like you get thousands and thousands of shards out of it. But, yeah, whichever you want to do. If you're more risk-averse, if you can hold it, but if you disassemble it, it's probably no big deal either, so.
Okay. The other thing that I was gonna ask you about is the transpose stuff, hammer stuff. Because I have enough coins to buy my pendant, but I don't know if I should do it. I don't know how that works. Some people said that I should put my current pendant and turn it into the other one. So I'm really confused on that one.
Okay, you have the Dominator pendant? Is that what you have?
Yeah, I have 2 of those.
2 of them, okay. And then you're using one for Mezzo Obtain?
I mean, that one, I'm using it to turn it into the Sweetwater one. Okay. And the other one as my secondary. But it's like the second Dominator pendant that I got is just epic. I just got it.
Okay. Yeah, so have you checked out transfer hammering and transposing at all, on like what the whole process is and why people do that?
Hammer, kind of, yeah. I have an idea, and then transposing, no.
So a hammer is mostly to try to take pressure off of rare pieces, right? Pieces that are rare that you would have to safeguard. Typically, is very expensive. If you look at the maths on star forcing on pieces, so this is specifically done on things that are either very expensive or very rare, and ideally on both. So specifically things on like superior Gallic stuff and on Abzos in the beginning of the game, right? If you would just get, let's say, like a superior Gallic stuff, and you have to safeguard it all the way up to 17, even if you do it during a 5, 10, 15, you're still spending about like a little bit more than a bill on that. And the idea is that if you instead you get the equips that are one batch lower that can transfer hammer into the level 150 stuff, you can get more of them so you don't have to safeguard. And you might boom some, but you don't care because you can get more of them, right? And then you use, ideally, a 30% off event to get them up to 15, which is, pretty cheap even with some booms. Let's say like 250 mil, right? Something like that. And then during the event here, you tag them up to 16, which is, guaranteed. So you're at like 280 mil. And then you'll have the new piece, and then you just have to safeguard the last little bit up at 150 at 5, 10, 15, because you can do that on the same day, and then you spend this extra. So even on the high end here, on the highest end, you're spending up around 700 mil, versus the other one was 1.1 bill, right? So it's almost 50% or 2/3 of the price. So you're saving about 4, maybe 500 mil per piece. And if you do that for 4 pieces of superior gear, you could do that for 5 pieces of Abzo. That's 9 times those 500 mil. That's 4.5 bills saved because of patience, and that money was probably being invested in your Mezzo gear and all that stuff in the beginning anyway, right? So that gives you time to get those backups, and then when the event comes around, you can do the projects that you have time for at that moment. And then in the end, that gives you 4.5 bill. What does that give you? That gives you more money to spend towards your weapon secondary and emblem earlier, and towards maybe getting critical damage on your gloves, which we'll get to in a minute because I see you didn't have that. And just getting legendary potential in general over more pieces, right? So that's more of a matter of patience. But if you manage to go that route, you end up opening up a whole lot of resources that way. So that's why transfer hammer typically is used. So for those pieces, there's certain items that we hold and that you hold on to. Now your Abzo is already like past that point, right? So for Abzo is no longer necessary, or are you still moving into some pieces? I see. Yeah. So the shoe and the cape, yeah. Yeah, so for the shoe and the cape, you can still do that, right? You can hold, and you have an epic shoe, so what you could do, for example, is hold on to, well, there's a very nice flame, of course. What is very easy for you to do? Like, have you ever done Julieta, boss?
No.
Okay. Yeah, Monad Prequest is very long, but if you decide to do that, Julieta is a boss that is very glitchy, very buggy, but once you don't need to be super duper strong to just nuke that boss, blow it up, and then at the end there's a boss, a box that drops a bunch of little boxes that have armor in them. So that's shoes, overalls, and hats for level 140 and 150 that all come out as epic. So those are very easy to then transfer hammer into stuff, or if you're doing Ranmaru, right, those drop all the armors all at level 150. And for capes, you have enraged Succum capes, and for shoes, you could also use the root shoes that you can buy in the Root Abyss shop. So any of those items, any and all of those items can be used to just fodder up to 15, you know, if there's a 30% off, which I think might be the next Star Force event that's coming. And then just hold on to that until 51015 comes around, then you tap them up to 16, transfer in the Abzo, get the Abzo to 16, then just safeguard the last star. And then all you really have to do is just, you know, all that extra money can go towards the potential. Okay. That's so transfer hammering, yeah.
Right now, my goal should be getting level 150 shoes and then transfer hammer to the Absol.
Yeah, the beauty about the shoes is that you can just buy them from the shop without a limit in Root Abyss at any time. So you can just keep the green and the blue coins you get from Root Abyss, and then just on the day of a 30% off, you can just buy it and just send it. You don't have to, you know, flood your inventory, because there's already a bunch of stuff that you're holding on to, right? Like you want to hold on to all the kind of treasure rings and the Dominator pendants and to all the equips, blah, blah, blah. So your equip inventory will always already get pretty full. So if there's an ability like that, to just, you know, hold it as coins in your etc., that's more value, because then you can just look at the day of and see how many you need to buy, right? Okay. So for the shoes, it's not as much pressure. For the capes, there's no cape like that you can buy, so you would have to... I know they're adding capes, but I believe it's a one... Actually, they might be adding a 150 cape as well, if I'm not mistaken. It's part of the... No, not that one. This one? I believe they're adding a level 110 cape. Oh, level 100 cape, and then... Oh, and level 130 and 150 shoulder. Oh, yeah, that's what they're adding, yeah. So this one is to help... Like, let's say you find an epic level 80 cape or something. Right now, it would be impossible to get that all the way... transfer hammered up all the way into, like, level 160. But with this cape, that would make it possible. And the shoulders are there for basically the same reason. Like, if you have an epic... Royal Black Metal shoulder, right, from Magnus, for example. Now you can transfer hammer it very easily all the way up to through 160 to Abzo as well. So that's one good way for a reboot that we can maintain value.
Okay.
Or, you know, you can keep the string of shoes, right? You can keep a 130 shoe, a 140 shoe, and then buy the root shoes during the event, and then you'll lose some of the flame power, but you'll gain Star Force, and you'll transfer your potential along from the Necromancer shoe. So that's also something you could do. And then you'll end up with like a 6 luck, 12, 6% luck, 12 luck, 3% intellect, probably shitty flame, but like 15 star root shoe, and then you hold on to that until you get the Abzo. And remember, if you get the Abzo earlier, you can work on the flame, because the flame does not get overwritten when you transfer hammer. So it keeps the flame of the target item, so you can already work on the flame before you do the transfer hammer. Just don't work on the potential or the stars, because those will get overwritten by transfer hammering.
Okay.
And transposing is a similar system, but not exactly the same. So, so also your Star Force and your your potential also gets overwritten, but your flame does not get overwritten. Sorry, your flame does get overwritten as well. So your flame does get copied over when you transpose, and that's the main reason why we transpose, is because the items that we transpose are flame advantaged. And everything you transpose into is always Sweetwater stuff, because it's like a commercy mechanic, right? And all that stuff doesn't have flame advantage. So that's why we want to transpose. That's one of the main reasons, because then you can get a way better flame on the target item than was ever possible on the item itself. And then the added benefits are, when you transpose at 16 stars, you also add bonus stats of the star that imprint onto the item that make it stronger than it could ever be without transposing. That's a nice bonus. Also, the item is a higher level, so, you know, you get access to 13 and 10 potential, right, instead of 12 and 9. And because it's technically easier to get backups as Sweetwater, right? It's easier to get more dineros, it's more guaranteed than to just get a bunch of dominators, because those are rare as fuck.
Okay. So right now I should work on my Dominator Pendant Flame? Is that what you're saying?
That is a project. Typically, you want to have like a transposed Dominator into Sweetwater, like so the flame score like around 105 or higher, and then at 16 stars, which you're already at, that's good. You can go up to Legendary if you want. It's not necessary, because even though the potential gets taken over all the way up to Legendary, it does get re-rolled after, you know, so it doesn't really matter if you do it before or afterwards. It's not really a huge difference. The point where you want to have a transposed pendant is usually around the same time where you complete your whole Superior Golok set. Because that's really when you move away from the boss accessory pieces, and that's when the set bonus for the boss accessory pieces just, you know, disappears, and that's when you want to replace. That's when the opportunity cost of replacing those pieces with a piece of Sweetwater is lower, right? Because they don't have set bonuses. But your pieces before that will have either very shitty or no set bonus as well, because you broke that up with the Golok set. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So until you're really at that point, I wouldn't really invest into flames. Let's say that your flames on your on all the stuff that needs good flames are already good, right? So, for example, at this point, if you're going to be flaming anything, it would be your weapon. Your weapon you're probably going to hang on to for quite a while, and it does not have any attack power on it. So that means that
that weapon is from the event, so I shouldn't get the new one.
Yeah, but so you're aiming towards getting a perma weapon, and you're close to that, or no?
Right now, no. I was aiming to get the shoes first, because since I have this, then I mean it's already something, right?
Yeah, exactly. But so since you decided that you're going to hold on to it for a little bit longer, it'll be a good idea to get a little bit better flame on it. So if you're going to be flaming anything at this point, I would flame the weapon. And again, you know, look at the progression grid and try to get this type of flame. So like a tier 5 attack plus anything else. And plus basically means anything that has percentage boss damage or damage percent or all stats, something like that. So look for a flame like that with any flames that you have access to. Event flames, boss flames, anything like that, go to your weapon. Weapon is by far the most crucial thing that you can flame right now. And then the second after that, once that's a good flame, then you want to start working on your Abzo stuff and making sure that those have decently good flames. Again, you can look at the progression grid, and you want to look at flame score for advantaged items, and then look for around these flame scores. So like 85 is more like for the cup, for example, right? Because it's a lower level, 140. And then 160 for the Abzo, you want to look closer to like 90, 95.
Okay.
So anything in this ballpark, when it comes to the cup, when it comes to the CRA, when it comes to the Absolab stuff, you want to get it all around that point. And when that is all done, then you can start working on the Dominator, and maybe if you get a Paplatus mark, you know, God forbid by that time, then you can start working on those things for transposing. But then you'll completely be in the swing of, you know, moving into your 240s and moving into doing like Lotus and Damien and doing Helix every day. And then the Superior Golok stuff will be working in full swing. So while you're waiting for that, you know, and gathering the backups for that and using the events to prepare fodder for that, at that point, you know, you won't have that much else to flame. And most of the stuff that you do get will have no flame advantage. So the most advantage will come from the stuff that you're preparing to transpose, yeah.
Okay. So right now I should not use my Sweetwater coins to buy anything, because I will lose the boss monster set effect, right? Until I get my Golok set.
So the idea is that gives you time to build up your boat, so that you don't need to immediately spend your coins on the pieces, because it'll take time, right? Right now, the opportunity cost is a little bit too high to switch over, because you'll lose too good of a set bonus, and you want to first get the Superior Golok stuff on board, because that'll make it worth switching off of the Superior the boss accessory set, because also those pieces all have flame advantage, so their flames are also going to be better than just throwing on Sweetwater. So that gives you time to work on leveling up your boat and investing your dineros into your boat. And then so you always want to do the furthest voyages you can. That way you get a lot of experience. And then once you level up to level 3 boat, the Dreadnought, then you can just start spamming the earliest voyage and just get like 50 dineros a day from that, and like doing CPQ. And then you can have a lot of backups. And then you'll have the money to invest in those things, right? Because the other projects will all eat up all your money. And then once you get to the accessories, then you can start upgrading those without having to safeguard, because since you have backups, it'll be cheaper on average to get to high stars because you have all the dineros. But now you're still in the build-up phase of all of those things, so it doesn't feel as directly satisfying, right?
Yeah.
So you want to have some things where you can already get satisfaction right now, like a nice flame on your weapon, stuff like that, like level gains, legion growing, so you can keep that going. And then in the meantime, you're building up other projects like getting backups, building up your boat, stuff like that for later, and then you can start picking the fruits of that labor.
So right now I should level up my boat?
Yeah, if it's level 10, you can click the arrow and then you can level up. The cargo skiff to the sailboat is pretty quickly, but the sailboat to the dreadnought takes quite a while. So the sooner you do that, the sooner you'll get to the dreadnought.
Okay.
But yeah, the first upgrade I think is 200 dineros, and then the second upgrade I think is 500, so it's quite expensive. But eventually it does come back to you, because even just one pendant I think is 400, or maybe even 450.
Yeah.
Like, those are very expensive, right? 400. Just one backup, yeah. So yeah, once you get more energy, right, you see I have 120 energy, plus I have 6 spaces, so I can take 6 items with me. You make so many more dineros per day, and so much faster, because you can just spam the first voyage and be done in like 6-7 minutes. You could do all your dailies. And then it just becomes trivial, but the investment in the beginning is quite high. I get that. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. How many time do we have?
I have about 5 minutes left on my side.
Okay. So just to close this session, 2 things. What arcane? I have the coupons that give me 100 thingies.
The symbols?
Which one should I? Yeah, the symbols. Which one should I prioritize? The lackling, whatever it's called.
Well, you're level 235 now, right? So you have access to all the areas? Did you do all the pre-quests?
I only have done until the forest one. I don't know the name.
Oh, okay. Well,
the one after Lackland.
Yeah. It'd be a good idea to get your pre-quest done for Morass and Esfera, because that's 230 and 235. And, the first symbol immediately is 30 points, so that's an extra 60 arcane power as well, so that's 600 luck from that. That's pretty big. And those areas are going to be the ones where you have the least amount of base income for daily symbols. So typically Esfera and Morass is where you would want to use them first, to kind of have them catch up to the other ones. Because I don't know, which floor do you do in Dream Defender right now?
50-50.
Yeah. I was gonna guess like 50, maybe 60, but like 50, yeah. So that means that even there you get 5 and then 1 extra, right? So 6 and then 8, so you get 14 a day. But in Esfera, even when the max you can get in Esfera and Morass is 14. So you already are getting that in Lachaline. So Lachaline will already at this pace like level up faster. So you want to use it on Morass and Esfera for that reason, and for the other reason is that if you use symbols on a lower level symbol, you'll get more stat out of it. You'll get more arcane power out of it, more levels.
Oh.
So I would use it in. I would get those 2 pre-quests done if you can, and evenly distribute it over those 2 so that they can evenly.
So I have 2 coupons, one and one.
Yeah. So however many you get, you just divide it by 2 and then get those last 2 done. And they might get close to, depending on how many you have. They might even overlevel like Arcana, but Arcana is at 18 a day now, right? If you do Spirit Savior and you do 8 a day. So that can get up to 18. So eventually they'll catch back up, even if the other 2 go over a little bit.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and if you have like spare, coins in the shop or something, and you don't really have anything else left to buy, that's probably what you want to use some of the Melody coins on as well, right?
Yeah. That was my other question. What stuff should I get from the event shop? Because I think it's worth to get the heart, the 2 billion one.
Yeah, I think it'll be worth. But you check the event calendar, right? You still have some time to be able to buy it. But I would say yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna save money for that.
Yeah, it's cheap stat later on. Especially, you definitely want to make sure that you get your drop and mezzo set done first, right? That's very important. And you will lose some damage compared to what you have now. but you will gain a lot of utility and just a lot of money when you're training, and it'll just feel better. And then once the really, really expensive upgrades start coming along, it won't take you like 2, 3, 4, 5 months before you can afford an attempt, but you'll be able to afford attempts whenever there are events, and then you're more likely to get lucky at something and make more substantial progress. So all of the stuff that is like unique now and does not like accessories, and then they're not drop or mezzo, I would get those to drop or mezzo and then move on to the next piece so that your general mezzo income and drop rate income just goes up.
Okay. And what about the used items that they sell in the shop? Are those good? Should I get the? Because I got all the notes and then EXP notes, but is anything else that I should get from the store?
Notes, EXP notes. Yeah, usually I talk about the legendary scroll, but all of your event rings are legendary already, so that's not necessary. If you're gonna re-roll them for drop or mezzo, you can use the event Meister cubes. I'd probably use that on the Eternal is 21. But I'd probably use it on the Awake and on the Justicar just to get some drop and mezzo there.
Okay.
And otherwise, yeah, otherwise probably on the symbols just to get you some help there.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, yeah. Right now you're relying for quite some damage on the accessories, but I'm not sure it's as necessary. Once your Legion and your Links grow, and once your boost nodes, your boost nodes are already at a good pace, but if your Arcane Power, your boost nodes, and your Weapon Secondary and Emblem, if those are working together, and all your other items are not shit, then you can do enough damage, and you don't need to rely as much on the stat of your accessories. So right now your accessories can work really hard for you in giving you more drop and mezzo, and then once you get to the point where, the Superior Golic stuff comes in, and the Sweetwater and all that stuff we talked about, then those things can be specifically upgraded for damage. And then the other stuff that you have now that is kind of, your always gear, your always accessories, those will become specifically only for training.
Okay.
So for the drop rate, I have this. You can check that. It's under ! Drop rate. So this talks about like what percentages the familiars are. So when you're looking at familiars and opening familiars and how that stacks with stuff. And then this one is basically the most important part on how item drop rate works, mezzo drop rate works, and mezzo obtain. Those are all like different stats, and how those, where they come from, how high they stack, what they stack with, all of that, and what you want to eventually build with your accessories. So you have 9 accessories, you want to have 4 lines of item drop rate, 5 lines of mezzo. This explains everything on like why you want to do that. And you'll get close to that very quickly because you already have a bunch of uniques and a bunch of legendaries, so you'll be able to build that quickly. And then you can start making a lot more money when you're training.
Okay, fair enough. Also, do you have any commands for the flame scores?
Yeah, I have ! Flames. So the first one is a video where I talk about everything flame related. It's not a super long video, I think. It's 12 minutes, so it's not too bad. It goes into some examples on flame score, like what a flame score is, why do we even have it, how you can calculate it, and basically with that, how you can see for any item in the game, and it also links back to the progression grid, right, and to the numbers that are in here. If you see any flame on any item, you'll be able to tell does it have flame advantage or not. So they'll give you and is it a weapon, and they'll help you check like which row it is, and then based on your level that you're in and the item that it is on the row, you'll be able to see like is this considered for me a good flame now or a bad flame now. And that'll help you determine is it a high priority for reflaming or a low priority.
Okay.
And the other thing is like a score calculator, so you can use that in the beginning to get through these numbers, so you can compare them. After a while, you'll just look at an item and you'll just know. You'll be able to do it in your head very quickly. And also, if you see an item, you'll immediately know if it is a flame advantage or non-flame advantage items, because there are some signs that you can just tell from looking at the item, and that's also in the video. And the other thing is there's also a calculator there, so that can help you decide whether you want to go for a higher cost or not. Because sometimes it's like, oh, I want a better flame. Okay, but how much is that going to cost you? And that'll help you determine, do I want to spend this money on a flame now, or is it better to save this money and spend it on star forcing instead, or on potential instead? The general priority is usually star forcing is usually most important and most efficient and getting you the most money, even all the way up to like 21 stars basically. And second most important is usually potential, and the least important and least efficient is usually flames. It's kind of like a finish off the item, you know, just to get something out of it when everything else is super risky kind of thing.
Yeah. Hi, man. Well, I think that's everything I had on my notes.
Yeah, I'll let me scroll through things real quick. Yeah, because I have to go to some boss fight right now. Yeah, so Lynx and Legion, you're going to be working on that. We talked about the Matrix, moving stuff around. Any kind of drop rate in the familiars would be cool, but familiars really don't come into play until like level 245 or something. And then you can check ! familiars, and you can see all the advice on that.
Okay.
Yeah, Legion Link, talked about the grid. If you are going to do the Julieta thing that I talked about, it's just once per account. It's a very long quest line, but it's only once per account. If you complete it, you can get a title that is very close to best in slot by just killing Julieta one time without dying on any of your characters. So that would be a nice one to replace, because yeah, this one's dead now. It does absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, and if this is your cup right now, the flame on the cup is also very, very low. So that's probably the second thing I would flame after the weapon gets a nice flame. Cause,
yeah, I had a really good one, but I sold it by accident.
That's unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about drop a meso gear, getting the heart. You know about transfer hammering. Yep. And I think I saw your flame on your hat was really nice. Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, of course the other ones are a little bit low, but you know, they're, as long as you know where in the priority they are on flaming, then you'll just get to them when you get to them. No rush there. So yeah, 30% off event is good to get stuff to 15, and then 5, 10, 15 is for anything above 15. And that's basically always what you're looking at, right? When we go through patch notes, look at the sunny Sundays, look at what's coming, and then that'll, yeah, that'll be that. So yeah, get some IED in the short term. That'll help you with the bosses, and practice. Try to ask in your guild like how they do things. Maybe join the Nightlord Discord. Maybe they have some specific Nightlord advice for you. You can find that link.
Do you have a link for that, or how can I?
Yeah, if you join, are you in my Discord?
Yes.
If you check on the top left, there's a thing called class discords here. And if you scroll through that, you'll find it in there somewhere.
Oh.
And then you can join it through there for any of the classes you want to join. But yeah, if you see a Nightlord in game, or if you find someone there, or through your guild, that should help you get some more specific advice, some specific tips, because you know I don't play Nightlord all day every day, definitely. Oh yeah, and so you had the iterability in like 2 weeks. I think the best thing to aim for on that is probably, yeah, you got 10 mesooctane. It'll depend on how much money you have. You could say like, I'm gonna spend like a few bill in circulators first and see if you can get one of the lines that you want, one of the unique lines you want, right? And if you get that, you can lock that one in and then look for the prime line. I believe it's boss damage that you're looking for. So if you hit... oh
yeah, should I use circulators or reset on next Sunday?
Yeah, so I think it'll depend on how much money you have disposable at that point, because I don't know if you have any major projects that you want to work on that are more important, because your iterability has a lot of room for growth right now. I'd probably set aside like 2 or 3 bill at least for circulators, just to try. And if you don't, then just directly go for the top line and just roll with honor, basically.
So use the blue circulators or the black one?
The blue ones, yeah. So you want to look for let's see, at least what it looks here, but I think you have a lot of possibilities. You know, if you add up with a unique line in drop, a unique line in meso, unique line in attack, unique line in damage to debuffed, unique line in buff duration, like all of these are nice. I'm not 100% sure on the buff duration, but it's mentioned here at least. If you get that in unique line, so it'll probably show up in the second line of your invulnerability. If you get that within your budget of the circulators, just lock that line in and then re-roll the top line, right, and look for the boss. If you don't get it within your budget, then just full roll your invulnerability with honor and then just look for the boss up top. Or you can also look for Meso obtain in the top line is also very good. Or even drop rate, but probably Meso or boss is probably advisable for top line.
Okay. And if I have a legendary like I have right now, and I do just reset, can it go down to unique?
No, it can't roll down anymore. No.
Oh, okay. So I'm safe.
So you don't have to lock. Yeah, you don't have to lock if it's already there.
And what about the second and third one? Can it go back to rare, or they stay epic?
Yeah, they roll randomly every single time you roll, so they can be rare, epic, or unique, at like a set percentage chance. It's like when you roll a regular cube, right? It's so like the top line is legend. If it's a legendary item, you use a red cube. Like the top line is 100% chance being a legendary line. The second line is 10% chance of being legendary, 90% of unique, and the last line is 1% of being legendary and 99% chance of being unique. And that's just a set percentage with every roll.
Okay. Alrighty, then I'll work on this thing.
Okay.
Well, I think that's it, man. Thank you very much for your advice.
Yep. You're very welcome. Best of luck on everything, and I'll see you around in the chat if you have any additional questions. I'll upload to YouTube so you can check it back if you need to. And yeah, I'll see you around.
Bye, man. See ya. Have a great night.
Yes, you too.
Whatever.
Yeah, have a great one. Bye-bye. All right, cool. So if you guys enjoyed the session, I'm glad. I have to rush it for some bosses. Make sure that if you need any of the commands, any of the information that we went over, that you check the stream, Scardor TV, Scardor TV, apparently. No, twitch.tv/Scardor. You can use the commands in the chat, and you can get all of this information over there, so you can use that whenever you need to. And yeah, you can just, check it out. If there's any topic that you have questions about, you can use all of it. You can also just use through the Discord and everything. If you want one of these sessions, check the description of the video. And if you want a chance to win a free one, make sure you leave a comment with your Discord name saying that you would like to win. And I will draw out 2 winners at the end of the month, which is in about 10 days already. And then it could be you. And you could get a message from me that you won a free session. So that could be cool as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me for now. I'll try to go over the KMS stuff for people who are waiting for that. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you either on the next video or on the stream, where I stream every day over on Twitch. So don't be shy. Drop on by. Wow, that rhymed. I'm so good. All right. Thanks for watching.